immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between,
what Nigerians need now is not about the daunting. Who can come and...
Welcome to Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Open Conversation is the network's flagship political platform through which trending political news, events and stories are discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party system and actor to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. Today on Open Conversation, we'll look at these stories. First, Democracy Day, highlights of presidential speech by President Tinubu. From there, we'll go to Niger State, outrage as governor, deputy speaker travel for Hajj. Still on Democracy Day, Ekiti PDP dismissed celebrations as masses make mockery of it. Democracy Day, Rep Speaker congratulates Nigerians on Democracy Day celebration. Still on Democracy Day, we must rescue Nigerian democracy, Lukman says as he resigns from party. And on politics, Jonathan says some governors empower criminals for elections. Do not go away. When I come back from this break, we'll delve right into the show.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the daunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the daunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the daunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the daunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. You human trafficker. You're a human.
no agreement with the EU, but
Representing people, Mr.
And the cowards
Always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the Tonte. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Joining me on Open Conversation this morning is Honorable Wisdom Lan Ayarebu. Honorable Wisdom is a political analyst. He's also the pioneer leader, Deservation Project 774 local government areas in Nigeria, a socio-political forum. Good morning and welcome to Open Conversation, Honorable Wisdom.
Good morning, Larisha. Thanks for having me.
All right. And on to the story. President Bola Tinubu marked the 25th anniversary of unbroken democracy in Nigeria with a compelling address on Democracy Day, June 12, 2024. In his speech, he reflected on the nation's journey from the struggles of military rule to becoming Africa's most populous democracy. Paying tribute to the heroes of the democratic movement and emphasizing the importance of sustaining democratic values, Tinubu outlined his commitment to protecting citizens' rights and pushing forward with vital economic reforms. His call for unity and perseverance underscores the ongoing efforts to secure a brighter, more democratic future for Nigeria. Now, these are the highlights of the presidential speech by President Tinubu on Democracy Day. First, tribute to heroes. He pays tribute to the individuals who sacrificed their lives for the nation's democratic struggle, including MKO Abiola, Kudirat Abiola, General Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, and others. Also, on the role of activists and journalists, Tinubu acknowledges the contributions of pro-democracy activists, journalists, and media establishments in fighting against military dictatorship. And on democracy as a way of life, he emphasizes that democracy is more than just holding elections. It is a way of life that includes freedom of speech, liberty, and peaceful transitions of power. And on commitment to democracy, President Tinubu vows to protect the rights, freedom, and liberties of Nigerian citizens and pledges to cement democracy as the nation's way of life. On economic reforms, he acknowledges the economic challenges facing Nigeria and highlights ongoing reforms aimed at creating a stronger economic foundation for future growth. On labor relations, Tinubu discusses negotiations with organized labor on a new national minimum wage, emphasizing the importance of cooperation over conflicts in resolving disputes. And on principled leadership, he underscores the importance of reasoned discussion and principled compromise in democratic governance. On call to action, President Tinubu urges Nigerians to embrace the challenges of the future and to continue moving forward together towards progress and prosperity. And finally, on preservation of democracy, he calls on citizens to keep the fire of democracy burning and to preserve it for future generations, ending with a blessing for the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a wish for Happy Democracy Day. Now, Honorable Wisdom, what is your take? Which of the highlights, what stood out for you? What would you want to react to right now?
Well, first of all, I would say may God bless Nigeria. May God bless the Federal Republic of this country, because for some of us who were born early during the military transition, up till now, we know what Nigeria has faced. And also because of our avalanche of opportunity of traveling over some states within the West, we've been able to experience that democracy is a very important tool. But, you know, microzoning back to what Mr. President said yesterday, you know, Benjamin Disraeli said, no government can be long secure without a formidable opposition. I think that him underscoring and giving credit to the journalists in Nigeria, the media, is also a major credit, emphasizing the need for everybody to be able to speak up, just like what we are doing today. But what I will also want to see as my major highlight is on the policy implementation, which he also highlighted on. Because like you and I agree today, Nigeria today is suffering. A lot of Nigerians are going through economic bottlenecks and hardship as a result of the excruciating pain that the recent policies of the state government and the federal government has given to us. So, but what can we do? Only have to keep hope alive. The truth is that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And because most of us as Nigerians, we believe in Nigeria, we believe in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and above all, we believe that democracy is a bedrock whereby there is a future for even the yet unborn. So we'll continue to encourage that. But bringing it down to his being in office for 1 year, I think I have, without conceding, I have my reservations.
When you say you have your reservations, do you care to share?
Yes, I have my reservations in the sense that since 1999, till 2015, we had a former political party, which is the People's Democratic Party, that has been in power. And within that period of time, Nigeria, you know, experienced the peak moment and also lows. You know, during the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo, this was when democracy was bettered, the Fourth Republic precisely. And we were so new to most of the activities of democracy, but yet we think that we enjoyed life better. Talk about the minimum wage then. The minimum wage then was less than 10,000 or thereabout, if I'm not mistaken. And you see, civil servants were noble enough to call themselves civil servants, because you don't see them do certain things, you know, expressing their shenanigans and abuse of power. And they can be able to go back home, you know, with the little earning they have and build a house of their own, you know, feed their family and the rest of them. But today, fast forward today, it's no longer the same. Even with the high demand of whatever labor is demanding today, there is no assurance that with whatever might be accepted or approved, that Nigeria will get better. But we also believe that, just like he said in his acceptance speech, that it's just like when a mother is going through the pains of delivery, the pangs of delivery, and after that, joy comes in the morning. So we are still hopeful. Like he said, he wants to renew Nigerians' hope, and we're still hopeful.
Now, when we talk about economic reforms, let's look at some of the economic reforms of President Bola Tinubu. You know, in the past 1 year, he assumed office. Now, the first economic reform came on the day he gave his speech, and he said subsidy has been removed. Subsidy, in his language, subsidy is gone. I mean, that was the first step. And then after that followed the devaluation of the Naira, which plunged the economy into super hyper inflation, and further plunged Nigeria into crisis. What is your immediate reaction to that?
Well, like you said, those policies are part of the reasons why Nigerians today are crying. And Nigeria today now is sitting between a keg of gunpowder. And I must say this for those who care to listen. Nigeria is sitting between a keg of gunpowder because they say the hungry man is an angry man. And the more Nigerians continue to suffer, it continues to push them to the wall. And when that continues to move on, the best that can happen is that the people will react. But narrowing it down to the policies that he has established so far, for the reason why subsidy was supposed to be removed, it was a good one. Only that the timing and the mechanism, the internal mechanism by which subsidy was removed was not the best. And also he told us, he assured us that subsidy has been removed. But we are knowledgeable today that Nigeria and the federal government is also still, subsidizing fuel, even at a huge loss to federal government. And this is, it calls for an alarm because there is need for each and every one of us to, look at things. Now look at the Naira today. Far back in the year 1982, you can imagine the exchange rate between Naira and the US dollars. But today, the margin is so wide, not because that Nigerians are not making a lot of effort. Today, if you're talking about what Nigerians can be able to realize, let's say we don't have manufacturing firms, but let me go into agriculture, for instance. Nigeria is the highest producers of yam in the world. But today, does Nigeria have the capacity to export yam all over the world? The answer is no. And yet, we have the capacity to produce most of all these things, but we even lack in exporting them and also generating income. Just like some other persons during their political campaign, in their mantra, they said they wanted to turn Nigeria from consumers to producers. The truth is that human capacity development is the first way to micromanage the challenge Nigeria is facing, because somebody doesn't get rich when they have money. Rather, you become rich in your thinking even before you have the money. So I think that at this stage, most of the policies he has made, some are fair, but the mechanism of implementation.
Which of the policies are fair?
Take, for instance, the fuel subsidy removal is fair, but the mechanism, like I said, the way by which it was removed was not the best, and at the time as well.
Now, Honorable Wisdom, aren't you contradicting yourself when you say the fuel subsidy removal, was fair, even though you see the implementation of the removal of the fuel subsidy as flawed? The implementation was flawed, but the removal was fair. Now, in the same breath, you have also said that you have reservations about the truth. Whether the government was being economical about the truth with regards to the removal of fuel subsidy, because you said that you are of the belief that fuel subsidy has not been entirely removed and that the government is paying, part of the subsidy at a huge loss to the government, to the country generally. And when you say that, and then in same breath, you also say that removal of fuel subsidy is fair. How is it fair when, according to you, it has not been entirely removed? The government is still paying subsidy, and on one hand telling Nigerians that fuel subsidy has been removed, and that occasioned a lot of hardship in the country. And when you look at it critically again, you would wonder the wisdom of this, because if the government is still paying subsidy, how come the government is paying increased FAC allocation, between federal government and states from 700 billion to 1.2 or 1.3 trillion naira monthly? You would wonder, how is that possible? Where is the government generating these funds? The government expenditure as a result of still paying subsidy and increased FAC allocation has increased greatly, wouldn't you say? Now, let's also look at the other part, some of the economic policies as well. Central Bank has played a major role when it comes to economic reforms and policies right now. Well, on one hand, we look at the reforms of the CBN with respect to interest rates upon interest rates on different bank charges, starting from the POS to transactions. And then we look at the power sector, the increased tariff. In fact, this year alone, In January, if you recall, tariff was increased.
That's true.
And then after that was a general increment of tariff, electricity tariff. And then much later, they now said they are sectionalizing the increment. Now, to the added increment in electricity tariff, they now said, the power sector now said that they are increasing the tariff of band A, whatever that means, band A, particular sector of people. But when you now look critically into the band A, you realize that a major percentage, because initially they were saying it was more of companies and highbrow areas. And then I come to realize that even myself, that is a Nigerian, you would say in our parlance, a common Nigerian, I'm also in band A. And when you look at these tariffs, it's crazy. This is a situation where, depending on what you have in your house, the minimum wage right now, the 30,000 naira minimum wage, cannot suffice for electricity tariff alone in a month. Can you periscope on that a bit?
Okay, thank you once again, Lauricia. When you said I was trying to, contradict myself, I wasn't actually, but I was trying to draw a little clarity that there are policies that could be created, but the ways and means it's being implemented, fault is just like you said. And going back to the fuel subsidy, like you said, fuel subsidy, most of our individuals, especially the petroleum marketers and the rest of them, these are the people who collude together, to rip off Nigerians. They are the more reason why we are still not minding that we are producing this same crude, yet we are paying premium just to be able to make use of it. And this is something that we are not even supposed to spend so much. But coming down to the way the federal government has been able to handle it, the truth is that, like I said, there are certain ways and manner you go about implementation. It becomes a serious crisis. Nigeria today went through a lot for the past 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, during the last dispensation of President Muhammadu Buhari. And you see that there were a lot of abnormalities that were happening within the federal government. But today, he came as a new person and wanted to give Nigerians hope by telling us that he has removed subsidy. And we were all glad, thinking that it was for the better, but only for it to turn around. The truth is that Nigeria, as a case study today, not minding our level of production, cannot be able to, with what we have, micromanage or give the citizens a comfortable or a durable livelihood. Because if you look at, just like you said, look at the electricity department, how they increased the tariff, even without,
epileptic power supply.
Plus the epileptic power supply, and without acknowledgement, because they say consent is very, very important.
The Constitution,
yes.
There is a provision to increasing tariffs. First of all, there has to be a meeting, more like a town hall.
Exactly.
Stakeholders
exactly.
must have a say.
Exactly.
And it must be approved by stakeholders before this increment happens. There are constitutional provisions.
And procedures to that.
Yes, which the power sector and the Minister of Power did not in any way take into cognizance. They just come out and then, by the way, that is also part of democracy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So now let's also look at, while you're discussing this, also look at how, Constitution has been flaunted, back to back to back, with regards to implementations of things and of policies and frameworks and reforms that ordinarily stakeholders should have a say in. But before you move further, I'd like to introduce another guest to the show, Ugochukwu Ifeanyichukwu, a political analyst. Good morning, Mr. Ugochukwu, and thank you for joining me on Open Conversation.
Good morning, Choma. Good morning, Rivers people, and good morning, Nigerians. I felicitate with Nigerians on the celebration of Democracy Day, which happened yesterday, and 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. And also, on my way coming, the Nigerianness of Nigeria happened to me, so that's why I was behind time. And again, we are looking forward that as we begin a new year from today in our democratic life, as Nigerians, we hope for the better, and also we want to also continue to remind ourselves that today is the World Albinism Day, and then Choma, you know, is not a genetic or anything evil. So we urge the media to continue to, you know, to promulgate and enlighten people about the discrimination and all the things that people living with albinism that are suffering all over the world, especially in our own, in our third world countries, that we should see them as our fellow human beings and also accord them all the necessary assistance that they need. And the government should prioritize their welfare, you know, in improving their lives by providing all necessary assistance. And we commend those who have been championing their welfare all these years as we celebrate with them.
Okay. Now, back to you, Honorable Lance.
Once again, I welcome you. Thank you once again for the opportunity. The truth is that, like I said earlier, the Nigerian electricity sector trying to segment Nigerians in different sectors, the truth is that both the highs and the lows are going through the same excruciating pain. And you coming back to tell Nigerians that there's some persons that are part of the band A, while the others are not part of the band A. And yet, the light is still very epileptic. We can't even boast of a 24-hour steady supply within the length and breadth of the 30 states of Nigeria, including the Federal Capital Territory. And also, with the way and manner, because all these things, like I said, boils down to implementation. I think, in all honesty, the president, with all due respect to him, has been using more of tax collectors instead of policy makers in part of his administration.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, when you say tax collectors, you know that, when the economy is, plummeting, one of the ways some will argue in some quarters that the government can generate, more capital, more revenue is through taxation. That's the truth. That cannot be taken away, is through taxation. Probably that was why the president, when he was addressing the economic downturn that time, he said, we have to just endure these baby pains. I think that was his speech.
These
baby pangs of hunger, which means at that time it was baby pangs. Well, the future will tell. But then, Mr. Ugochukwu, we are looking at the highlight of the presidential speech on Democracy Day yesterday. And what would be your take when it comes to the economic reforms of the president so far in office?
I think Honorable Wisdom has dealt a lot of blow to it. I think I go with his assertions, and my only take is this. The president has failed to capture the minds of Nigerians, as has been the case with other leaders before him. When the vision is high or when the expectations are very high, we expect our leaders to make speech that will douse the tension, that will give hope and renew hope for the downtrodden Nigerians, especially with the mantra on which the president ruled to his ascendancy to power on renewed hope agenda. We've not seen anything. The only thing that we saw the president going around, into the accumulation of his 1 year in office is the projects that he commissioned, being the projects that were executed by the FCT minister, Barrister Jason Wike, and you saw all the praises he heaped on him, and they eulogized him for his astuteness, his being sagacious and being active within the confines of his own ministerial purview. I think we also look at the fallout of what the Mr. President would have used yesterday to capture the minds of Nigerians addressing the living wage or minimum wage. He failed.
Get to that.
But that's the only thing. For me, all the presidential reforms, all the things we have been told in the last 1 year, just that we have seen in Rivers State, is still in the pipeline.
All right.
We are still yet to see any form of light through that tunnel for now.
All right. Now, another highlight, probably we'll just merge these two, democracy as a way of life and commitments to democracy. Now, he emphasized that democracy is more than just holding elections. It is a way of life that includes freedom of speech, liberty, and peaceful transitions of power. And then he further vows to protect the rights, freedoms, and liberties of Nigerian citizens and pledges to cement democracy as the nation's way of life. Now, if we periscope, if we look closely into this, we will not wonder, are we fully exercising our rights as Nigerians, in the country? Now, let's look at NSAS protest, shall we? Now, if you recall, Shehu Sani, when he was addressing the president yesterday during Democracy Day, yes, he told, in his statement, he reminded the president that he is the father of all protesters. In his statement, that was his word, that the president, President Bola Tinubu, is the father of all protesters.
Of course, and we understand where he's coming from.
He now implored him, he now begged of him to actually bring his weight into bear to see the release of NSAS protesters that have been detained since NSAS protest happened. And one would wonder, what was the crime committed by these protesters exactly that would lead to detention up until now? Now, if the president is saying that he's committed to democracy, that it should be a way of life for Nigerians, and that it's freedom of expression, freedom of speech, even the right to protest is enshrined in the Nigerian constitution as long as it's a peaceful protest. What is your immediate reaction to that, Mr. Guchu?
My immediate reaction to that is Shehu Sani is not far from the truth if you look at it, because if you're a student of history and you watch the trajectory and the growth and the popularity that brought President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to limelight, you find out that he has been an activist all through his life. So you remember that he was a senator in the short-lived democratic experience or civil rule experience during IBB's time. So then you will also remember that he was among the champions of NADECO. NADECO now had a loud voice after the annulment of the June 12th. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was among those who were chastised. He was lucky to have sneaked or escaped from the country and relocated to the US. And where he has told us that he housed most of his members who were able to, escape that hunt. And again, you could remember during the Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, he protested. He started creating more administrative local government areas. And he wanted them to be captured in the allocation of the physical finances of the nation, which Obasanjo protested and said that only those local governments that were recognized by the Constitution will be allotted the funds of the nation. And he went ahead and stood his ground and created more local government development areas in Lagos State. So he is the father of all protests. You will also recall that during the tail end of the Jonathan administration, it was them who came and instigated the people, incitement, and mobilized to make sure that Jonathan's administration was brought to disrepute, and that they brought Jonathan's administration to its needs. And not only that, he championed the formation of a mega party in Nigeria that truncated the dreams of PDP, who prized itself then as the largest party in Africa and who will rule Nigeria for 60 years. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu shocked them, by going to bring out Muhammadu Buhari from political retirement and making sure that the man who has always had a 12 million votes hanging somewhere could be used in unseating the sitting president. So he's the master thinker. He's the Maradona of the time. And he has done all this through the instrumentality, somebody who could figure out the likes of, what do you call him, Lai Mohammed, who was the spokesperson of APC at the time. And you could see what they did to a sitting government in Nigeria, which had not been had in history. So for the president to be saying that under his watch, that democracy has thrived, I say no to that, because we have seen how people are being gagged. I've seen how positions are being coerced into even joining the ruling party. And if you have cross-carpeted in the west of Adams or Shomele, your sins are forgiven. He has continued to make sure that those who have affinity, you could see the likes of Bala, who was in the campaign train of Atiku Abubakar just a few months ago, you know, pledging allegiance to Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. So you could see that we are only in civil rule. Nothing like the respect of human rights and freedom of speech. It is only freedom of speech when you favor the government in power, and when you are dancing to the tune of the government in power, and when you're coming from the opposing side, you are being gagged and cracked down upon. No freedom of people to protest. And you will also recall that under the watch of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Yahya Bello has disappeared into a thin air. People who should be called to account by the state, but for whatever it is that is best known to them, the government is not going all out to make sure that those who should be called to question are being called to question. Look at the probe that is happening to MFLA, or what MFLA is going through. But Muhammadu Buhari is cooling off somewhere. Nobody is calling him to question, or any of those people, even the former AGF and the former, what do you call it, the finance minister during the Muhammadu Buhari's administration. So if you put all this together, and rather than placing on the table, Choma, you find out that we have not started. We are just only operating a civil rule that when it favors you and those praise singers, you shield them and welcome them into your fold. But when it's not favoring you, you bring about all government apparatus to gag those opposing voices. So when we begin to see a new Nigeria, when we begin to see a new leaf, when we begin to see the tenets of what is called democracy in practice in Nigeria, we will know. We are here and we are watching.
Honorable Lance, what is your take with respect to Shehu Sani's statements?
Actually, assuming and yet still conceding, I think Shehu Sani has already made it the way it should be. He has really, spoken for some persons who have been incarcerated for a long period of time. You know, if you take a look back at the 20th October 2020, the NSAS, like you already mentioned, this was when Nigerians came together, not minding ethnicity, not minding beliefs, not minding individual backgrounds or foundation. We came together. Nigerians, as a matter of fact, came together because of the way and manner by which the police was utilizing and showing no mercy to the Nigerian populace. But today, the government in power is saying that democracy is not just only about elections. And in totality, I agree with him. But the only thing I will only also add to that is that as Mr. President, he should live to his statement, because just like my brother already said, if you recall vividly from 1999 to 2007, our president today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was the then governor of Lagos State. And if Nigeria today can be able to boast of the governor's forum, it was part of his antics and his protests that gave birth for governors in Nigeria, the state governors, to become major stakeholders within the Federal Executive Council, and as well to have a major voice. But today, like he said, if you see what is happening in Nigeria, once you are there to sing praises and eulogize the government of the day, your sins are forgiven. But we fail to realize that that is not the bedrock or the foundation for which democracy was established. You know, if you remember also, from 2007 to 2010, before our late President Yar'Adua, of blessed memory, demised, remember that there was a bill that was assented to, which is the Bill of Freedom for Information. And with that, including both journalists and normal citizens, are supposed to hold the government and those who are in public offices accountable and ask them for them to give records of their stewardship. But today, it is no longer, the order of the day. The trajectory has so nosedived, and Nigerians today, celebrate incompetence and eulogize it and make it now look as if it's now an acceptable mantra. But the truth is that only also democracy can give us revolution to that. And I believe, like I always say, that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So for the fact that we are still on the bedrock of democracy, Nigeria has a future.
All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at another highlight of the presidential speech, and that is labor relations and minimum wage. Do not go away.
Every day, our lives are
representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said $20,000 is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the Tonte. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honorable human trafficker. Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask, oh?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery.
We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so no dey. Light usai. The infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, spoil everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently. Make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadeyi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't buga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say nothing. Okay now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker. Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now. You won't divert. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadeyi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of God.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth: the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the taunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people. All of
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blood.
I have fought a very family. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Corruption not in my country.
Driver, why you just dey jack us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask, oh?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery. We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey. Light outside. The infrastructure e can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex, now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently. Make Nigeria.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all your updates on their Fact Today.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Before we went on a break, we were discussing the highlights of the presidential speech, and we are now on labor reforms. President Tinubu discusses negotiations with organized labor on a new national minimum wage, emphasizing the importance of cooperation over conflict in resolving disputes. Now, what is your immediate reaction to this? And do not also forget, the president, while making this speech, now said that the new minimum wage will be forwarded to the National Assembly. And Nigerian Labour Congress came out to say that they are not aware of any new minimum wage as of yet, and they are still waiting to hear from the president. So what is your immediate reaction to this?
Once again, thank you, Choma, for asking that question. You know, like picking from the previous question you asked as regards giving credit or respect for rule of law or the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you understand that this particular ruling party has always been an anti-people and also an anti-Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Constitution itself, even by the law of the National Assembly, said that a certain year, after a certain period of time, the minimum wage is reviewed. And the labor union members waited for the time to elapse, and they were expecting the National Assembly to do the needful, which they did not do. It took until the labor union started agitating for an increment and now had to, on their own, make their own submission based on the current day-to-day market survey. But now, the president is yet even to give us a figure on whatever he has assumed as a resolution. He's also trying to make us understand that he is saying that democracy is not just about the elections. It's about a way of life, also giving people the freedom to make their expression. But today, he's not even allowing the members of the union to also to make contribution to the decision, because the union has already given Nigerians a lot of reasons, analysis, and as well as templates for an average civil servant who also has a family of two, with the cost of a bag of rice in the market, and with the cost of a bag of gari and the rest of them, inclusive of their rentage and their transportation. You also understand that even with the serving minimum wage, it has nothing to, the person has nothing to go home with. So, but with Mr. President coming on June Democracy Day to tell us that he will be giving the minimum wage to the National Assembly, all we can say is that we are waiting to see what he has come up as a resolution. Then the Nigerian people can be able to look at it. Although you and I can also agree that the minimum wage is not even the major problem of Nigeria. The major problem of Nigeria is the hardship, the economic hardship that Nigerians are battling with. And come to think of it, over 100% of Nigeria in the analysis, only 35% make up as members of the union, who are direct civil servants within the state, local, and the federal government. But how about the 65% of Nigerians, some who are artisans? Within that 65%, we'll have 15% who are within the political class, the political office holders and the rest of them. Then what about the other persons who are either artisans, small business owners, and the rest of them? How do they go about their day-to-day survival? So these are the things that even the federal government as well, the president himself, should look at critically before coming up with any figure, because this particular minimum wage issue might either may or ma'am his position as the president of Nigeria. And again, let me also not forget, like I said, this particular political party, since assumption from 2015, has always been good in abuse of power. They've always been good in abuse of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Party, you mean APC? I
mean the ruling party, APC, right. Yes. I'm very, very, very specific on that. I don't want to put it to the president, because I believe that their party was the vehicle that brought the president. So I believe also that most of the decisions that the president is making are part of the extract from the constitution of his own political party. So I can tell you that this political party has not done any much good to Nigerians. To the best of my knowledge, I stand to be corrected. But we are still looking at how Nigerians can be able to survive, because one thing we fail to realize is that as long as there is breath and there is water and blood, growth is consistent, is inevitable, not minding whatever might come across it. So as long as Nigerians have life, have breath in them, and they have blood and water, growth is inevitable. And this season as well will definitely pass. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Gochuku.
Borrowing the words of the former vice chairman of APC North, I think he's Lawan also, who said that the APC has derailed from their ideologies and the tenets and the constitution of the party. That I think he,
you mean
Lukman, he also has come in terms with what I always say here. I always posit here that Nigerian politicians, what they do is they have constitution, they have manifesto, but they don't go with their manifesto, they only go with their agenda, what they think that they want to do for the people, not necessarily what the people want. So they jettison the manifesto of the party, which should be the guiding principle of whatever they want to achieve, how they intend to reposition what they have met on ground, and how they want to affect and affect the lives of the people they are governing. But as soon as they get to power, they jettison all those things and begin to personalize in their thinking what they think that the people need, which is what has kept us where we are in Nigeria. If you look at the fallouts of what the president said, the minimum wage is not an exception. It has long been overdue. And they also blame it on past labor leaders who were so docile, who were so engulfed in their parley and romance with any government in power. And now they have awoken to the realities of the time. This agitation would have started when we started seeing the signs of heightening in food prices and the economy during the tail end of Muhammadu Buhari's administration. So they left it, and now they are crying foul. I won't go much into it. What we are going to stay and watch is how the president, who have made a statement that democracy is not only about governance, but he constituted the tripartite committee. Has he listened to them? Is he bringing everyone on board? Is he, from what we are hearing from the labor angle now, has he given everybody a listening ear? Has he brought all the resolutions to bear before he said that he's going to forward the minimum wage bill to the National Assembly? The answer is no, because going by what Joe Ajero and the TUC chairman said yesterday, you find out that there are discrepancies and gray areas that have not been met. And my parents, my father was a civil servant and my mother is still in active service. You know, we are growing. They tell us that when there is a new change in currency, it is through the civil servants that these monies come out. And now, when there is, when you want to see the inflow in monies in circulation, it is also from the payment of civil servants. But today, the reverse is the case. It's only the politicians and their town criers, which are called their attack dogs, and their puppets, and those who run around the corridors of power, that are the people now who are, moving around with large sums of cash. And don't forget also the politically exposed persons. That is why a political party will place a form, maybe an interest expression form, or the party, what do you call it, the main nomination form at the rooftop, where it will not even reach the average Nigerians. So you find out that we have a lot of things in our hands. Mr. President should do a lot himself, a whole lot of good, by allowing all these gray areas to be, settled with labor. If not, you see how much the nation lost in one day of shutting down the nation. Let us know through that whole hog again of industrial action or warning strike in Nigerians' life, as it will affect our economy, it will make us poorer, and it will, at the end of the day, Labour might not achieve their aim. And you see, if you also take a look at the president and his handlers and what they are doing, their policies have not in any way changed the life or touched the life of average Nigerians. We only hear them make bogus statements, and you know, what does it take for Nigeria if we will be able to cut costs to pay 250,000? If in sincerity the government, given the realities on ground, like Wisdom have said, you find out that the market forces are not smiling, and the government has not brought out a control measure in order to help the citizenry to be able to go to bed affording 2 square meal. Right. We're not talking about 3. So if the president goes ahead with presentation of whatever bill he has without listening to Labour, I think we are in for another Labour government face-off, which will not be in the best interest of us. And again, you find out that listening to Labour and also listening to other parties, the stakeholders and those that are involved, with the increment in the judiciary salary now, and what you are giving Labour, which is not even more than 5% of the population, and you say you will not be able to pay. That is why you find out that in Nigeria, they want to, you know, whatever is a dissenting opinion, a force that will come out and challenge the government in power, they don't want it. And that's why Nigeria is thinking towards a one-party affair. But I want to inform the government and those in power that the more the merrier. If we have opposition and they are playing the opposition as it should, as a watchdog, and all the NGOs and the CSOs and those labor organizations are allowed to play, because once you impoverish the people, anything you throw at them, they take it. I don't know whether the government in power...
Doesn't it make governance and doesn't it make elections easier for them?
Yes, that is what we are saying. If they impoverish the people, if they begin to, you know, turn out policies that don't allow the people to really develop and at their own pace, you find out that in Nigeria, during the elections, we are only a tool in their hands to be used. But we don't want this government to toe that line, as it will not be in the best interest of the development and the growth of Nigerian economy. But when monies are circulated, when people are able to, when people are given level playing ground and the fertile ground to thrive, we are not asking government to spoon feed us, but create the necessary environment that will enable people in their different ventures and businesses to thrive. And you see Nigeria, you know, reaching to our what do you call it, our envisage and our dream destination. And by that time, when we sing Nigeria we healthy, everybody will sing it with their full chest.
Okay. And on to Niger State. The decision by Niger State Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago to travel to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj pilgrimage alongside the Deputy Governor, Comrade Yakubu Garba, and Speaker of the House of Assembly, Abdul Malik Sarkin Daji, has sparked outrage among residents of the state. It was gathered that the governor and his deputy departed the state between Sunday and Monday for the yearly pilgrimage. Residents have accused the governor of not being serious with governance, claiming he had abandoned his responsibility alongside his deputy, leaving the people to their fate in the face of severe security challenges in the state. Let me start with you, Honorable Lance. What do you make of this? I mean, in the Constitution, if the governor would not be available, the natural thing to do is to hand over to his deputy, and there has to be a notice sent to the Speaker of the House of Assembly. You know, what do you have to, what's your reaction? Because in this case, the governor, the deputy governor, and the Speaker The three principal officers, as the case may be, they are not in the state and they traveled for Hajj.
Choma, you know, that is one thing I stated earlier when I said that this particular ruling party, APC, they've always been so good and decorated with abuse of power. You know, a French monarch, Benjamin Montesquieu, said that power corrupts absolutely. And with the tone of what has been happening here in Nigeria, especially within this ruling APC, this is the only political party in Nigeria whereby anything can happen and nobody questions or queries why it happens. Come to think of it, why would a governor, just for the sake of him traveling for his religious meeting, he forgot that he took an oath of office, which is to be a custodian of the people, to be the chief security officer of the people. And you will agree with me that that same Sunday and Monday that he traveled with his deputy, including the Speaker of the State Assembly, there was a lot of crisis that happened in one of the local governments. A military man was ambushed and was shot and killed at gunpoint. There are still some other communities within the state. There were a lot of, rising, issues. And the governor, his deputy, and including the Speaker of the State House Assembly, all were, found wanting.
Some of his
if you ask me, this is an impeachable offense in a sane society, or where a society whereby the democracy, as we preach, functions properly. But because the APC in Nigeria has made everybody to understand. I'm not really saying this because I'm an anti-APC. No, I'm only saying it because I am somebody who is passionate about Nigeria. I'm saying it because I believe in Nigeria. Now, this government, they continue to, abuse their offices. Come to think of it, why would somebody who does not hold an elective office, come on air to speak on behalf of the governor as an aide and say that the governor can run and operate the functions of, exercise the powers of governor from any remote location within the world? Is that where the elections were held? Were these places where the elections were collated? These are the questions we ask. Because every society, every sane society that has its own jurisdiction has a certain law that every individual must abide by. But today, if a sitting governor can be able, for the reason of going to traveling for Hajj, travel and leave office, including the deputy and the speaker, it tells you that there is a major issue. And these are the areas as well we expect Mr. President, who is the leader of the party, to, because of the fact that he took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ask questions, even if he does not have the capacity to remove the governor, at least within the frame of the governor's forum, or within the party leadership, or within however means and possibility that they all coexist, he should be able to tell the governor, to call the governor to order. But we, just like Nigerians and the people of Borno State are left to their fate, the same way we Nigerians, we are left with our fate, and we are looking at what the next few years will give birth to. So on that note, I must say that I am not impressed, and it is a total deficiency in character of both the executive governor, the deputy, and the Speaker of the State Assembly of that particular state. And we pray that what has already become of the state doesn't go beyond what it is.
Right. Now, Mr. Gochukwu, the concerns, like Honorable Lance rightly said, let's look at empathy towards people, the masses, from the elites, the ruling class. Now, on the morning of that departure, there was a military man was shot dead, and there were crises in other local governments as well. It wasn't just the military man, but there were crises. Now, the question would be, why would a governor depart, travel alongside the deputy and the speaker? Not just the deputy, the speaker and the governor, also some of the cabinet members are not around. Now, according to the story, when the opposition was reacting to that, they said that It is now the SSG and Chief of Staff that are now administering, state duties. And you would wonder, where is the respect for rule of law? If the executive is going against the law, is it not the place of the legislature to call them to order?
But he has taken the henchman of the legislature. So now, who will bear the cat?
That's the question. Who will bear the cat? And now you also look at the influence of religion on governance, not politics this time around, but this has to do with governance. The influence of religion, in governance, particularly in Nigeria.
Choma, this is pitiable. This is where we have found ourselves in Nigeria. This is us, and the whole world should hear it from ATN and this, interactive political program that we use in, trying to dissect and turn out the truth and nothing but the truth that we posit here. We don't deal on sentiment or playing to the gallery. Choma, you see this is the Nigeria staring us in the face. First off, if there were to be elections in Nigeria, if there are to be proper elections, I mean the guidelines as provided by the Electoral Act, you can't see this kind of mess. But because our votes don't count, the elections are given to whomever they want to give it to, that is where you see this kind of things playing out. Where is it that an election should be conducted by the people file out to vote, and their votes are counted, and they give you the leadership mantra to lead them, to protect them? During the oath of office, you swore to the allegiance to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to protect the people's security, and the welfare of the people shall be paramount. And the governor who just assumed office, who just had 1 year in office, took over when there were a lot of crises, when about 14 local governments in Niger State were being taken away and being controlled by the non-state actors, whatever name they bear. And you came. I'm sure he must have rode on the mantra of being the best man to handle the security of the state, to bring peace, and to make sure that the farmers can go to their farms and people can sleep with their 2 eyes and their clothes and their legs folded in their bed, so that even if your door is open, that nothing will happen. These are the things that Nigerians want to hear. And he must have told it to the people of Niger State. And now, one of my Oga, let me say it, one of my Oga, his mantra is, those who are looking for work are not ready to do the work. Because looking for work and giving you the work is different from you doing the work. When people get job, they start complaining, seeing loopholes and seeing the deficiencies. I thought in all the religions, you can pray in your house, that God is everywhere. So why not pray if you believe so much in God to help you in what we are passing through in Nigeria now, and you now use God as the alibi in Nigeria and leave governance and what is facing you? This is unacceptable. And Choma, it was also here in this platform that we discussed the award that was given to this governor and the governor of Rivers State, Simla Yefobara. I said it here that look at a governor that has not tackled the insecurity bedeviling his state. That what are the parameters for that NGO, those 100 NGOs or whatever they call them, into account in what he's doing. Right. I mean, it's a pity for us in Nigeria.
Very quickly, in a minute. What is your final take on this?
I think my submission in summary will be, Nigeria is a democratic state. And I'm also one man who so much believes in the parliament, because the parliament is the bedrock of a democratic government. And until Nigeria gets our parliament properly working, most of all these shenanigans will no longer be seen. Take, for instance, including the abuse of power. The reason why most of all these things are on the high is because most of our parliaments today are all rubber stamp. Even the National Assembly, I'm sorry, but I have to say to a level, because if you recall vividly, the national, no, not the speaker, the former Senate president in the 9th Assembly, you know, when he was being queried for a certain reason why he assented or approved for a money that was expended by the previous executive arm of the government, even before it was even brought to the National Assembly. And I start to ask myself, what kind of country are we living in? I'm bringing it back to today's situation. Why would a governor, for the sake of pilgrimage, for crying out loud, most of us today, we take oath to take responsibilities for our family. And will not because of our ethnic, religion, or whatsoever, then we will leave our families and the responsibility that we've taken vows on the altar, you know, to live. Because even the Bible said that a man who is not, you know, capable to provide for their family is worse than an infidel. Right. So a governor who is not there for his people is even worse than an infidel.
All right.
That's my submission.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
And once again, before I want to react on something. As regards the other issues that were not discussed, like the Rivers APC's reaction as per...
We can discuss that.
Oh, okay. It's all right. Yeah. Thank you.
So this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Open Conversation. Thank you so much, Honorable Hans, for coming. And thank you so much, Ugochukwu Ifeanyichukwu, for joining us today on